Time for a game of tug-of-war, only this time we're playing with Disney World restaurants that are so odd we can't quite tell if they're absolutely charming or something you'll never want to experience again. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. I'm here to talk about 10 weird and wacky, bizarre Disney World restaurants you're either going to fall madly in love with or really not like. As I name off each restaurant, decide which side of the spectrum you're going to pull towards and play along. Want to make sure you don't miss out on any of Disney's bizarre restaurants, or make sure you do miss out if they're not for you? Head to disneyfoodblog.com/bizarre restaurants to get the list sent straight to your inbox. We'll also sign you up for our free newsletter so you can learn about any menu changes or new bizarre restaurants opening in Disney World. Let's start with a real controversial one, SciFi Dine. Disney's Hollywood Studios has changed a lot over the past 5 years, but one thing that stayed the same since 1989, besides a few updates on the menu here and there, is the SciFi Dine restaurant. At SciFi, you'll be transported back into the 1950s when drive-in theaters were all the rage. This restaurant has some of the most interesting seating in all of Disney World. The dining room itself looks like a drive-in parking lot, meaning your table is shaped like a little convertible. A convertible car, that is. It's super fun, but it's also part of the love it or hate it mentality. On the one hand, eating in a car while watching various old-timey film clips projected onto the movie screen is a novel idea. If you're someone who feels like the food you're paying for should come alongside an experience and a show, then SciFi won't let you down. But if you're looking to chat with the people you're there with during your meal, this car seating arrangement makes things pretty difficult. You've got two people side by side up front, two people side by side in the back. So really the people up front can't really talk to the people in the back, and it's hard to talk to the person next to you because the movie's pretty loud. It can also feel like too tight of quarters for some, considering all the cars have seat benches, which isn't everyone's cup of tea. And if you have two people in the front, you may be seated with two strangers in the back of your car. That being said, if you'd like to appreciate the dine-in movie setup from afar without potentially feeling squished or isolated from your group, you can always request one of the limited tables that have a car-looking front and back side, but a regular table and chairs in between. These are mostly for the larger parties of like 6 or 8 or more. Because these particular tables are limited though, you may find yourself having to wait longer on a table than you originally intended. But if that's a big game changer for you, then let the host at the front know you don't mind the extra wait for tables instead of those cars. Oh, and by the way, they have picnic tables in the back. Those have a little better light, and again, it's going to be easier to see and speak to the people that you're with. It's also much easier if you need a high chair or if you need wheelchair accommodated seating. Now, as far as the food is concerned, if you've ever been to a Steak and Shake or any side road diner on a classic Route 66 trip, you've experienced this menu before. I'm talking burgers, onion rings, milkshakes, you know, the safe bet, but a little bit fancier and a lot more expensive. Just don't go into this restaurant thinking that the food is going to be as mind-blowing as the theming. If you're looking for really good, unique, market-inspired food on property, this is not going to scratch that itch. But the menu options are great for picky eaters, and if you want to wrap yourself up in those cozy retro vibes from way back when, you may want to try this restaurant out at least once. Now, before I continue on with this list, I'm going to make a quick side note about table service restaurants like SciFi Dine and numerous other entries in today's video. Table service restaurants, oddly themed or not, all have the same pros and cons. On the one hand, making a reservation for a table service restaurant ahead of time guarantees you a meal at a certain time of day for your group. You'll be able to step out of the beating Orlando sun for a second and enjoy a nice meal in an air-conditioned environment away from all the hustle and bustle of the parks, at least in most table service restaurants. On the other end, however, some people aren't huge on the whole let me take an hour or two out of my park day to sit and eat mentality. Table service restaurants aren't called quick services for a reason. These restaurants do take some time to experience, which can be a turnoff for those who only have a limited amount of time to experience the parks on their Disney vacation. So discuss the pros and cons with your group before securing those dining reservations and make sure it's a cost you want to invest in on top of your park ticket. And if you change your mind about a dining reservation after already creating the reservation, just make sure to cancel at least 24 hours in advance. Each restaurant is a little different when it comes to cancellation policies, but 24 hours is usually a safe bet, if not way sooner, just to give Disney a heads up and let them put that opening back on their site. Whatever you do, don't forget to cancel the reservation entirely. Otherwise, you'll run the risk of being charged an extra $10 per person cancellation fee. Okay, not done hanging out in the 50s era at Disney's Hollywood Studios? You don't have to be. 50's Primetime Cafe is next on our list, and it pulls from a different side of the retro era. Instead of late-night monster movie vibes, you've got kitschy kitchen, nostalgic vibes going on here. It's like the third scene from Carousel of Progress. Yes, I realize that scene technically takes place during the fabulous 40s, but the kitchen that John hangs out in has a similar vibe to 50's Primetime Cafe, so there you go. But what makes this restaurant really immersive for guests is the cast member interactions. Your servers treat you like family here, literally. They'll refer to themselves as your aunt, uncle, or cousin, then proceed to heckle you throughout your meal. A few things we've been scolded about in the past are not keeping our elbows off the table, not putting a napkin on our lap, and not finishing our vegetables. It's all in good fun, and the cast members do a really good job of keeping up the charade, but it's not uncommon for guests to feel uncomfortable about these interactions, especially if they haven't studied up on the restaurant ahead of time, and they don't know that this is what's going to happen. They haven't mentally prepared themselves to be poked fun at throughout the entire meal. So if you still want to check out the comfort food options here, which include dishes that feature fried chicken, meatloaf, lots of mashed potatoes, pretty basic meals, and not that much better than a Cracker Barrel, but you're not too keen on the idea that more than likely you'll be called out for something during lunch or dinner, then you can always inform the host ahead of time to have your server ease up on the jokes and embarrassment. You just have to say that you just want to watch and not be included in all of it, and they will totally understand and comply. All right, number 3 on our list, Space 220. We waited and waited and waited for the day this space-centered restaurant would finally open its shuttle in Epcot. And at the end of September this year, that day finally came. Although Space 220 is the hottest restaurant on this side of the galaxy, the bizarre concept hasn't been the apple of everyone's eye. I was trying to think of another space comparison, but I thought it'd be overkill, so I settled on apples instead. Thanks for accepting me the way that I am. But let's first talk about why this restaurant has become one of the hardest reservations to snag. This place goes all out, from the pre-show Stellevator ride before you enter the dining room to the giant windows surrounding that dining room and creating an immersive Centauri space station atmosphere. Disney Imagineers have done it once again. They've suspended our disbelief and made us believe, if only for a moment, that we are dining in space. So what could possibly steer guests off course of this solar system adventure? Well, a few things. Remember how I said these reservations are hard to get? Yeah, even booking 60 days in advance doesn't guarantee you a seat on the space station. So you're going to have to wake up real early to try to get these reservations ASAP. As enticing as it is to get a reservation for a coveted restaurant like this, it's also frustrating and sets your expectations super high right from the get-go. I'm not saying Space 220 won't necessarily meet those expectations, but the food here isn't groundbreaking or anything. It's not bad, and there are quite a few options that we did enjoy, but it's really expensive. It's a prix-fixe meal. You have to pay a certain price tag, and I'll be honest, I haven't had the best experiences here. And it's also predictable food. Nothing here really stands out as a meal I've just got to have again. So expect your standard main courses, fish, chicken, pasta, pretty standard flavors. Sometimes things come overcooked, sometimes they come undercooked. I've actually had both experiences at Space 220. So go here for the atmosphere. Don't necessarily go for the food or the price tag. Okay, now time for another little side note breakaway here. Prix-fixe menu prices are something I've been talking about a lot on this channel. They've become more and more frequent in Disney World restaurants. Prix-fixe prices will tell you how much you're going to pay for your entire meal before you order. And with that set price, it usually includes an appetizer, main course, and dessert of your choice, but not always. This can be a good thing for those who are planning on ordering multiple courses anyway. It gives you the freedom to choose whatever options you want without worrying about a price bump unless you order extra enhancements, which of course are on this menu because they're on just about every Disney menu. But it can also be a bad thing for guests who don't want to be forced to pay for multiple courses per person at an already expensive restaurant. So back to Space 220. It does feature that prix-fixe menu. At lunch, you'll pay $55 per person for an appetizer and main course. At dinner, $79 for an appetizer, main course, and dessert. This can be very, very steep for food that's not that great. However, that atmosphere is decent. And if you're at Epcot and want to experience Disney's newest Imagineering at its finest, then the price might be worth it for you. But if you're looking for memorable flavors and not necessarily memorable views, Le Cellier is only a hop, skip, and a jump away in the Canada Pavilion. We're just saying. All right, number 4 on our list, Coral Reef Restaurant. Dining under the sea sounds great in theory, and it looks great in execution too. Epcot's Coral Reef Restaurant is the main seafood restaurant in the park, not on property, just the park, so keep that little factoid in your back pocket for now. Much like Space 220 surrounds the dining room with giant windows for you to gaze out into space, Coral Reef provides you with giant windows to gaze out into the big blue world. Only these fishies swimming past you are real, unlike the astronauts floating past you at Space 220. That's right, this restaurant is inside an aquarium. And that's cool. Ever-changing scenery alongside your meal is 10 out of 10 theming that's not only engaging for adults, but kids as well. And sometimes a restaurant that'll keep your kids occupied during an entire sit-down meal can be a parent's dream come true. But here's the kicker. This is, and I want to say this as nicely as I can, definitely my least favorite seafood-based dining option in Disney World. For one, the meals here are inconsistent. 1 minute we'll be like, okay, these shrimp and grits are good. And the next minute we're like, this mahi-mahi is super dry and disappointing. And when you're paying over $30 for these entrees, inconsistency is not something you want alongside your meal. There are so many other seafood options you can choose from on Disney World property that just blow this one out of the water. Several table service options like Todd English's Blue Zoo, the Boathouse, and there are even some quick service seafood options that we'd probably choose over Coral Reef, like Columbia Harbor House's Lobster Roll at Magic Kingdom, or even the Yorkshire County Fish Shop Fish and Chips at Epcot, if I dare say it. So in summary, beautiful view, iffy meal, kind of same as Space 220. When you're surrounded by so many other dining options around Epcot, it's hard to settle for one that has a 50-50 shot of letting you down. But reservations for Coral Reef are much easier to pin down than Space 220, and you'll have the opportunity to dine next to 2,000 aquatic creatures. So maybe this could still end up being an enjoyable and unique experience for you and your group. Number 5 on our list, Oogas Cantina. Want to know a restaurant that may be even more difficult to get a reservation for than Space 220? Yeah, that's Oogas in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Everything in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge has a backstory, including this hard-to-book lounge. That's right, it's just a lounge, not even really a restaurant. You can barely get food here. Oogas Cantina is Batu's safe haven destination for weary travelers like yourself and smugglers, maybe like yourself as well. Expect to be surrounded by glowing high-tech space equipment, upbeat tunes from DJ R3X, DJ Rex, does this droid look familiar to anyone? And wacky drink concoctions that may or may not make your lips go completely numb. Okay, they definitely will if you order the fuzzy tauntaun, but it's no big deal. Okay, maybe it's a very big deal because how often do you drink an intergalactic concoction like that, right? That weird numb sensation you get from the drink is thanks to the buzz button foam you'll see bubbling up over the top of it. It's made out of buzz button flowers or Szechuan flowers. And they've also been referred to in the past as the toothache plant because they can be used as a natural pain reliever. If you want to see the full step-by-step recipe for this concoction, we've got it on the DFB website. I'll link it down in the description below. If you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, you'll more than likely have a great time here. I mean, it's definitely another Star Wars themed area that you can check off your Star Wars themed bucket list. But if you're looking for a bite to eat alongside your alcoholic beverages, you're kind of out of luck here. There are only 2 food-based items on the menu: the Batu Bits, which is just a conglomeration of dry fish and veggie chips, and the Hapabor Sampler, which is a charcuterie board, but it's not a good one. Depending on your palate and preference, these 2 items could be enough to soak up the alcohol and keep you grounded, but it could also not be, which could be frustrating since you had to wake up at 6 a.m. to make a reservation for this coveted spot, and you can't actually order a full-on meal here. Meaning that after spending 45 minutes at this location, which is all the time you'll get since Disney has a 45 minutes per group policy at Oogas, you'll have to take more time out of your Hollywood Studios day to dine or munch somewhere else. The drinks here are a ton of fun, but they are pricey and they're pre-mixed, so there's not a lot of room for requests and customization. What you see is what you get, whether you like a certain ingredient or not. Not to mention, this place is crowded. So if you feel uncomfortable by the thought of being wedged up next to someone at a bar and potentially not having a place to sit, that's right, not everybody gets to sit, even though you made a reservation for this place literally weeks and weeks in advance, then maybe you want to go ahead and skip out on this location and hit up another lounge-like area in Hollywood Studios. There are a lot of great ones. We always recommend the Hollywood Brown Derby Lounge. It's got a nice selection of cocktails for you to choose from and some tasty eats as well, like their famous Cobb salad or BLT sliders. But I understand those options are not part of the Star Wars canon. The rush of being able to snag that reservation and be part of this cantina and storyline for a bit is the biggest pull for this location. So I get being disappointed if you don't get a reservation here. But don't let it be a mood killer. You can still get your Star Wars fix by just being in Galaxy's Edge for the day. And if you really want a Batuu alcoholic beverage, there's always blue and green milk available at the milk stand. Now there's a fun debate to have. Blue or green milk, which is better? Let's duke it out in the comments. By the way, I just want to clarify again that even if you do have a reservation for Oogas Cantina, you won't likely be sitting down. That's wild. Why? All right, number 6, Docking Bay 7. Let's be real here. All of the different food and beverages offered in Galaxy's Edge are bizarre and otherworldly, for better or for worse. But if you couldn't get that reservation for Oogas, you can still munch at Batuu's quick service location, Docking Bay 7. Docking Bay 7 is truly that eccentric eatery that has guests balancing the I enjoy this, I can't stand this tightrope. You'll get a lot of unique options here that set it apart from other Disney World quick service locations, which is great if you're a more adventurous eater. But the options here can be a little too adventurous for some. Like the hot chicken tip yip, for instance. Apparently tip yip got a little kick to it, so if you order this fried chicken and blueberry corn muffin dish, be prepared for some heat. And then there's the tuna bowl, which is great for seafood lovers, but maybe not so great for people who can't get past the idea of raw tuna and spicy sriracha dressing being paired together. Again, it all depends on personal preference. The odd presentation of the meals alongside the wacky ingredient combos can be standout options in the best or worst way possible. But if this helps any, Docking Bay 7 does allow you to customize your side dishes. So if there's something you're iffy about on the menu, you may be able to replace it with a tamer option like the mac and cheese. This is also a solid quick service for those who have food allergies. There are a variety of options that cater to specific dietary needs that you can look over on the online menu. Or you can request an allergy guide while you're at the restaurant. Whatever way you look at it, Docking Bay 7 may just be the alternative dining option you're looking for when Oogas Cantina kicks you to the curb. If you're looking for a more adventurous quick service, but you're not sure about the options available at Docking Bay 7, Disney's Animal Kingdom has a quick service restaurant, Satuli Canteen, that serves customizable bowls that you can make as adventurous as you like. Think Chipotle, if Chipotle was a repurposed mess hall located in Pandora World of Avatar. Alrighty, number 7 on our list, Trader Sam's Grog Grotto. Okay, I know you think I'm wild to put this on the list, but this place is not for everybody, despite the lines outside. Trader Sam's Grog Grotto at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort is a small tropical-themed bar that serves up fruity cocktails with a twist. Many of the cocktails on the menu trigger special events that happen around the bar. If you order the Zombie, for instance, which is made with rum, tropical juices, and just a hint of cinnamon, your server will come out limping to your table with a little bit of an eyeball issue going on there. And if you order the Polynesian Pearl, a giant clam will open its maw and present you with its pearly beverage, which is very similar to the Zombie, but replace the Bacardi rum with rum chata instead. Now, I won't give away all the secrets here, mostly because I don't have time in this video for that, but I will tell you there are angry goddesses. And this intimate lounge area can be a really good time, especially for all you Jungle Cruise and Society of Explorers and Adventurers fans out there. Unless you got to experience the Adventurers Club that used to be in downtown Disney's Pleasure Island back in the day, then you might be spoiled. Sorry, the Adventurers Club was the superior interactive drinking experience and we miss it dearly. But unlike Oogas Cantina, there are a few more sturdy noshing options on the Trader Sam's menu, like the Kahlua pork tacos and the Thai chicken flatbread, so that's a plus. One thing that gets frustrating about this spot, however, is how incredibly limited it is for guests. There are only 51 seats in this interactive bar, and you have to arrive at least 30 minutes before Trader Sam's opens just to get your name on the waiting list. The hours range from 3 p.m. to 12 a.m., which doesn't provide a whole lot of flexibility for groups who are busy enjoying the parks. That means interrupting your afternoon to head to Polynesian and hope to get on a waiting list, which could still require you to wait for another 2 or 3 hours before your hideaway adventure commences. Now, we here at DFB know how popular Trader Sam's can get, so if you can't make it out to the zany hideaway during your upcoming trip, you might want to try Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar at Disney Springs. This bar is themed around Indiana Jones and will still surround you with artifacts and delicious drinks galore, and good eats as well. Skipper Canteen at Magic Kingdom is also a solid alternative, since it's directly based on the Jungle Cruise attraction. Plus, it has both a wide range of adventurous eats and drinks. Now, I get a lot of people asking me if they really do have to be at Trader Sam's 30 minutes before the bar opens to get their name on the waiting list. Well, not all the time, but if you're there during a very busy time, or it's a Friday or Saturday night, something like that, then yeah, you need to get there early. But again, people come and go, and sometimes the crowds just aren't there, so you may get lucky if you get there a little later. Number 8 on our list, Gideons Bakehouse. I got 4 words for you. Great cookies, bizarre concept. Gideons Bakehouse, located in Disney Springs, is a vintage, repurposed bookshop filled with oddities that could be straight out of a Tim Burton film. Tell me, how many cookie shops have you frequented that make you reach through flames to grab your cookies? This place embraces how odd it truly is, and I am here for it. I will reach my hand through fire hundreds of times to get some of those seasonal cookie selections, especially the lemon poppy seed ones. Not to mention, Gideons Bakehouse keeps its patrons on the edge of their seats with their secret slices options that drop every now and then. If you follow Gideons Bakehouse on their social media platforms, they'll let their followers know when super limited time cake flavors are available, but you'll only be able to order these cakes if you know the secret password that they'll add to their Instagram and Facebook stories. So what could someone possibly dislike about giant cookies, secret menus, flames, and spooky theming? The wait, plain and simple. Depending on the day, Gideons Bakehouse has been known to rack up wait times of 3 to 6 hours. Fortunately, you don't have to waste your shopping day in a physical line. Gideons does have a virtual queue that you can add yourself to, but you have to go there to do it. That way you can browse the numerous Disney Springs shops as you pass the time. That being said, even waiting in a virtual line for that long, all for a cookie, even a really good cookie, can be a kind of bizarre, if not off-putting concept for a lot of people. If you'd prefer getting a sweet treat ASAP instead of waiting forever and a day to order one from Gideons Bakehouse, there are other locations in Disney Springs you can hit up for some gourmet desserts like Amaret's Patisserie and the Ganachery, or even Everglazed for donuts. Otherwise, if you want to order from Gideons to see what all the hype's about, but you want to avoid waiting hours on end for your time to enter the shop, try going to the bakehouse right when Disney Springs opens. Sometimes you'll still need to enter a virtual queue, but it may not be quite as long as it would be if you jumped into it during the afternoon. And other times the line might be short enough for you to get into an actual physical line that should only take you 15 to 30 minutes to get through. You could also pre-order cookies from Gideons' other location. That's right, Gideons Bakehouse has 2 locations in the Orlando area, and the one in Disney Springs happens to be their second spot. Their original location is at the East End Market. There you can actually pre-order cookies, unlike the location in Disney Springs, and take an Uber or your car over to pick them up. If you're willing to burst the Disney bubble for your cookie fix, that's the best way to do it. Because you know what they don't have at East End Market? A 6-hour virtual queue. Number 9 on our list is Beer Garden. Usually if I'm talking about the Germany Pavilion in Epcot, I'm singing the praises of the Caramel Store and their beautiful, beautiful caramel corn concoctions. But other than that, the Germany Pavilion doesn't get brought up in conversation a whole lot. But it should, because it has one of the most interesting restaurants on Disney property. Beer Garden is a buffet-style restaurant that is themed to look like an authentic Bavarian village amid Oktoberfest. There's even a moon in it. It's beautiful. Like, we talk a lot about the gorgeous village views over at San Angel Inn inside the Mexico Pavilion, because it's got that big Mexico pyramid and street market setting, but Beer Garden has a very similar evening ambiance and interactive storytelling style. Not to mention, you'll more than likely get to hear the musical stylings of the Oktoberfest musicians on the restaurant's main stage. And yes, they even have alpenhorns, so hopefully you're in an upbeat dancing mood. Each performance encourages guests to join in on the fun by clapping along or banging beer mugs against the table. Did we mention that Beer Garden has liter-sized beer, like a liter of beer all in one mug that you can drink? Yeah, okay, but we haven't talked about that in a while. Heads up. And amongst the alpenhorns and German bell ringing, things can get pretty loud at this restaurant. So if that's not your cup of tea, or rather not your mug of beer, I guess that fits better, you can always check out a quieter restaurant at Epcot instead, like San Angel Inn Restaurante, or Nine Dragons at the China Pavilion would be a more relaxing place for you to dine maybe. Now in the past, seating at Beer Garden was family style, meaning unless you had a large group you were dining with, you could expect to be seated with other people. Since the restaurant's reopening post Disney World's closure of last year, and since our last visit, this communal seating style seems like it's not quite happening yet again, at least not as frequently. But your experience could be totally different, and the rules here could change at any time. So if eating next to strangers during an entire meal is something that's not cool for you, you can always let the restaurant know so they can accommodate as needed. Sorry, I got so caught up in this atmosphere that I forgot about the food. The food on the buffet is heavy. On the one hand, this $46 meal does try its best to give you your money's worth with a large variety of German-based entrees and a wide range of sides. Mostly think sausage and spätzle. There's some cabbage, but there's a lot of sausage. It's real meat-centric, so if you find yourself more looking for a salad bar and less the bratwurst, this buffet probably isn't the right fit for you, unless salad and polka is something you deem worthy of $46 price tag, which, hey, we're not judging you. You do you. If you're looking for lighter options that still feature German flavors, consider trying one of the Germany-specific festival booths. For Festival of the Holidays, you got the Bavaria Holiday Kitchen, which offers somewhat lighter and cheaper pork schnitzel portions along with a handful of beer and wine options. Pastoral Palette is the new name for the 2022 Festival of the Arts Germany booth, but when it was called Cuisine Classique, it featured items like coq au vin and a selection of hard ciders. So still heavy-ish food, but not in quite the same portions. You don't have to dole out $46 for it. Okay, next on our list is literally any character meal anywhere. Is this cheating? It's probably cheating, considering it's not a specific restaurant, but this is a dining experience that's very specific to the Disney parks and refers to a handful of the signature restaurants available. To guests who aren't as familiar with the whole Disney World concept, character meals can be real strange. Like, it sounds like you're eating a character, right? People ask me all the time, what's a character meal? Are you eating characters? No, you're eating with characters. And while you're eating, a random character from a popular Disney movie waves at you and poses for pictures. This happens at restaurants like Cinderella's Royal Table, Garden Grill, Chef Mickey's, and lots of other locations around property. Disney knows people want to eat with the characters, and they can charge a lot of money for it, so characters pop up in a lot of places. Now, the meals at these restaurants can be great, and the kids in your travel party could be over the moon ecstatic about seeing their favorite characters live and in person. And you may be super relieved that you're not going to have to wait in a long line in the parks later to meet said character, and you're in air conditioning, and that's great. But you pay the big bucks for these character sightings while you're dining, so if you're not a huge fan of meeting characters, paying for that extra expense probably isn't going to be worth it. Super expensive meals where you're paying for characters that you don't care about is never going to be worth it. Those restaurants are also more than likely going to be overflowing with excitable kids. So if you're going to spend the money on a meal and you'd rather have a more intimate date night atmosphere, consider the following alternatives. At Magic Kingdom, instead of Cinderella's Royal Table, try Plaza Restaurant. At Epcot, instead of Garden Grill, try, dare I recommend it twice in one video? Le Cellier. At Disney's Animal Kingdom, instead of Tusker House, try Yak and Yeti. And at Disney's Contemporary Resort, instead of Chef Mickey's, try Steakhouse 71. Don't forget to grab the free cheat sheet of all the restaurants I just talked about at disneyfoodblog.com/bizarre restaurants. So which side of the rope did you find yourself pulling on more often? Were these off-the-wall restaurants some of your absolute favorites? I know a few of them are some of my favorites. Or have you sworn never to step foot in their doorways again? If you want to know a little bit about our views and past experiences with each of these restaurants, you can always check them out on the DFB website. We got lots of reviews. We go to all of these restaurants every year or more. Or you can get even more details by reserving your copy of the DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining 2022. This ebook is stuffed with our reviews and tips, including Disney World restaurants of all types. It even includes a 5-step guide designed to get all your major dining worries out of the way, stress-free. Check out dfbstore.com to pre-order your copy today and use code YouTube for a discount. Well, there we go. 10 bizarre restaurants you'll either love or hate, and probably a little bit of both, if you're like me. But they're old friends now, and we've got a past. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.